From time immemorial, our ancestors have put a deep meaning into any of their occupations, and the subtleties of different crafts were kept, passing from generation to generation. These are details, important accents of which the culture and way of living of the Great Steppe civilization were built for centuries. The School of Nomads is for studying the past, creating the present to build the future. In today's program, Pottery Craft of Nomads. The Turkestan potter Abayhan Rızbayev. Clay Witnesses of History. If we talk about the history of crafts, then one of the oldest was pottery. Today, archaeologists studying ceramic dishes can determine the period of existence of a particular settlement, the storehouse of its life, the culture and life of a particular people. Clay has unique properties. It dissolves easily in water, turning into dough-like mass. Frozen, it becomes strong as a stone, and after firing, can be stored for centuries. Scientists find clay artifacts at all sites of ancient inhabitants of the territory of modern Kazakhstan, and Turkestan is no exception. In a significant trading and artisan city, which was on the Great Silk Road, there were also merchants of ceramic utensils and the best masters of Central Asia. Pottery here was handed over from father to son, from mentor to apprentice. And today, Abayhan Rızbayev, known in the district potter, continues this craft. Hello. Hello. How are you? Excellent. My name is Samat. I came to you from Almaty. I study ancient crafts. I study their history. And so, I came to you. I want to learn more about your craft. I want to try to do something with my own hands from clay. Will you teach me the pottery? I am just glad to such guests as you. If you want to learn, my doors are open. All I can do, I will show you. Thank you so much. Abayhan Aga is a professional potter. In his youth, he graduated from a school of art, where he was taught by the best masters of pottery. Today he is one of the most talented masters, and he also teaches this craft to his students. Let's start with the history, when this craft appeared in our country. Ancient Otrar, Sarayshik, Sauran, Taraz. At the excavations of all these cities, scientists found ceramic products. According to the discovered artifacts, we can say that the dawn of this art occurred in the 8th, 10th centuries. Primitive ceramics and human life appeared in the Paleolithic era. They were figures made of clay and uncomplicated utensils. As time passed, technology was being developed, and in the Neolithic period of time, people already learned how to burn pottery. Every nation has its own ceramics. This is the difference in forms, in figures, inscriptions, and ornaments. It can relate to different periods, but any of them, without exception, are of historical value. On the first look, these jugs are similar, but if you look closely, there are differences. Taraz jugs have a neck like this. Beautiful. This is a picture from the ancient city of Sarayshik. It is a Tarar. This is from Sauran. That is, looking at all these pictures, you can understand that the pottery was quite developed in our areas. After all, the city was situated on the Silk Road, so the local masters had lots of work, and from here very beautiful pictures came out. Abayhan Aga is not just a master, he is engaged in the restoration of ceramic pottery found during excavations. Together with this, he studies the composition of clay, the technique of work of ancient artisans, and eventually creates copies of the found artifacts. For example, for several decades, archaeologists have been excavating the ancient settlement of Kultube, which is located just 200 meters from the mausoleum of Hoja Ahmed Yassawi. Scientists do not exclude that this ancient settlement was a stronghold of the medieval city of Yassı. Meanwhile, archaeologists speak of a continuous life in the settlement from the first half of the first millennium BC to the beginning of the 14th century. Here too, various ceramics are found. The most massive material that we found during the archaeological excavations is this natural ceramic dishes. Well, for the most part, we find it in the wreckage. In ancient times, people respected ceramic things very much. They cherished it very much. Such fragments of ceramics prove that, which have such holes. This suggests that even in ancient times, when this ceramics broke down, it deteriorated. It was restored and used later. People did not throw it away. These ceramic artifacts belong to a different historical period. There are fragments dating from the 10th, 6th, and even the 1st century of our era. In other words, for thousands of years, people who lived in this territory, each in their time, used ceramics. Ceramics is very important for us when dating a specific layer. Nowadays, there is a certain classification. When in a certain period of time, centuries, there was a fashion for ceramics. For example, for one period of time, applied paint was a certain color, or the shape of certain vessels was changed. For example, pitchers had a difference in coronals, or in the handle, or in the same ornamentary. Some part of the clay objects has reached us in its original form. This is primarily a variety of dishes, jugs, scales, bowls, ritual accessories. In fact, unlike wood, clay does not rot, does not burn, it does not oxidize like metal. On many fragments, you can see different drawings, for example, cross-shaped. Archaeologists assume that in this way, the potter signed his works. Or another example of decorating ceramics, the ornament along the edges of the dishes is pressed down with the tips of the fingers. And who knows, maybe in the laboratory studies of such a fragment, scientists will be able to see the fingerprints of the ancient master. Aga, after seeing all these great works, I wanted to begin to learn more about your craft. I told you something from history, and if we want to have a beautiful picture, we should prepare the clay. So we need to get clay. There is lots of it. It's all different, but not everything will be suitable. After all, it contains many different minerals that affect both viscose and density. In addition, in the soil we get, there will always be stones, any organic matter, the roots of various plants. Therefore, the clay will have to be filtered. I'll show it to you. Come on, let's go to the step. Let's take clay from there together. So the whole work begins with the extraction of clay, yes, and its preparation for work. Together with Abay Hanaga, we went to seek for clay. At 45 kilometers from Turkestan, there is an ancient settlement, Sauran. We came to the shore of a small river, where according to the master, there is clay suitable for us. The Sauran clay is famous for its properties, and the building materials made of it are in great demand among consumers. The legend says that at one time, Timur built the mausoleum of Hoja Ahmed Yassawi from bricks made of Sauran clay. It is said that from Sauran to Turkestan, a living chain of 40 kilometers was built, along which bricks were transferred from hand to hand, which served as the basis for the construction of a majestic building that stood a century. Yes, this soft, elastic natural material, for this quality people like it. For example, the first manuscripts of man scientists call cuneiform. Their authors wrote on clay tablets with a sharp premise with a wedge-shaped end. And after, These clay tablets were dried in the sun. Here, Samad. Here's the good soil. Start digging. That is, any soil will not work for us. No, any will not. We need clay. Here it is not bad. Let's get it. As the master told me, I'll take this soil, the more the better. In general, it turns out the ancient tribes painted themselves with colored clay for rituals or to frighten the enemy. And today, in the composition of many different colors, there is natural clay. And so far, they have not found a substitute for it. Well, the bag is full. I'll go and build a pot. It turned out the heavy bag. Yes. Now let's get it all out into that bath. We must turn this soil into a liquid that would filter and cleanse of stones and other things. Do you need to get a homogeneous mass? Yes. Let's go. Now we'll unload everything into the bath. Do you add anything else there? No, only this dirt. Well, let's get started. Initially, primitive people used clay to bond improvised materials, fragments of stones, sand, and seashells. Later, men began to use clay as the main raw material for making household utensils. Over time, ancient masters learned to separate clay from various impurities by soaking. Since that time, the method of filtering clay has not changed much. In short, modern potters still use technologies that are several thousand years old. Our Sauron clay was unloaded into a special bath and filled with water. Once we have a full bath, we will begin mixing our clay in it. It must go into a liquid state, and then we will filter it. After some time, huge pieces of soil were quickly crushed. Here the main thing is to mix without stopping. Over time, foam will rise to the surface of the water. According to Abhay Hanaga, these are the minerals that are found in the soil. In particular, it's salt. And this foam should be constantly removed. And this is strained clay. All water must drain. Then that dirt in the bathroom will become like this. Yes, of course. When the clay comes to such particular state, it will be necessary to take piece in your hands to check. For this, we roll it and wrap it with a finger. If the clay is not of high quality, the sausage will crack. As you can see, this is a good clay. Can I try too? Yes. You see, the clay does not crack. That's the way it turns out to get clay. While it seems to me that everything is simple, work is easy. Soon I will learn everything. I look forward when I will start to make the pitcher myself. Is this clay ready? Yes, it's already filtered and it's settled. We'll make a pitcher from it. We take only a part and this is flattened. We will knead it as a dough. Yes, and that to improve the quality of clay. We will add reed fluff to it. But fluff should also be taken at a special time, when the first frost hits. As we know, this fluff was added to the clay. It would burn down later in the firing process. We need it only while our future dishes will stand on the drying stage. That is, the reed fluff seems to form the walls of the vessel, and the product will keep shape well. Now it is necessary to divide the clay into two parts and knead it properly, to beat it against the table. All this is done in order to get rid of the air that is in the voids of the mass. In order to hold clay firmly, the potter's wheel should be applied with wet clay. That's how the mass will stick. Now we press on the motor. The twisting mass should be held with wet hands, that the product would slip. To hold the center of the circle, one must push with one hand and to pull with the other. Clays go nowhere, which means it will start to rise, and we'll press it down again. So we repeat 5 to 6 times. One of the initial stages of work on the circle is precisely this one, to set the working material exactly on the center. In ancient times, the potter's wheel was twisted by hand, but time passes and the machine was automated. Now it is easier for potters to work. Abay Hanaga easily made a hole in the center of the mass and with his fingers began to take up gently walls of the future vessel. The clay acquires the shape of a jug. I learned that Abay Hanaga does not only vessels but also participates in the restoration of ancient mausoleums. We have a restoration workshop in Turkestan. There we recreate various details, bricks, tiles of the mausoleum of Hoja Ahmed Yassawi. I also participated in the restoration of the mausoleum of Aisha Bibi in Taraz. And I recreated the lack of stalactites at the mausoleum of Rabia Sultan Begim. It is located directly opposite the mausoleum of Hoja Ahmed Yassawi. To preserve all these monuments, a permanent restoration is necessary. For this, we study the works of ancient masters. Most of the ancient mausoleums are built of baked brick, and some are decorated with ceramic tiles. A magnificent example of medieval architecture, the mausoleum of Hoja Ahmed Yassawi also has a ceramic tile finish. It is the construction with the largest dome, which was preserved in the territory of Central Asia. The mausoleum is decorated with floral and geometric patterns. All the grandeur and magnificence of this mausoleum, with its painted tiles, powerful walls, amazing stalactites, all this shows the level of development of architectural art in the Great Steppe. Of all the similar monumental structures of the time, only Hoja Ahmed Yassawi Mausoleum was well preserved. So in 5 minutes, Abay Hanaga made a beautiful picture, an amazing craft. You did an amazing job, Aga. I want to try to do it now, too. Of course, just start with something small. We must study in stages. If you follow all my advice, you will get a picture much prettier than mine. Don't laugh, I'm not joking. Let's start from the beginning. Only you tell me what to do. Of course. Let's get the clay straight to the center. Let's do it in turn. Yes, let's do it. The center should be quite dry, otherwise the clay will not stick. Let's put the clay right in the center. Here, and press it around the edges. Turn on the machine. Pour a little water and now hold. You see, it does not obey. You have to press on both sides. Let this side go and press on the other side. That's all. It turns out that it's not so easy to put clay in the center of the circle, but I learned. As my mentor told me, you cannot fall for clay, but on the contrary, you have to control it, taking it more comfortably in your hands. And only then everything will be successful. And now with your thumb, you should make a smooth hole in the center, and thus begin to create the cavity in the vessel. You cannot push strongly, otherwise we'll squeeze the bottom. So I realized that strength and tenderness are needed in this craft. Clay must be felt. I understood the peculiarity of this craft in the fact that by concentrating on the circle, you forget about the little things. You practically meditate. Well, it seems that my piece of clay begins to take shape. I decided to make a smaller vessel, because in order to make a large pitcher, you must be very experienced. Now you need to remove excess moisture from my vessel, wipe it inside with a sponge, and now I'll flatten various cloths outside the jug. To decorate my dishes, I decided to draw a line in the middle. I still cannot believe, really, I did this cup myself, with my own hands. Hold on like that from both sides. Very good. That's your first job. I think it is very beautiful, right? Yes, very good. I think you would be a good potter. After all, you learn everything pretty quickly. And to become a professional potter, you still need to take drawing lessons. This one circle is not enough. Of course, the master must be able to draw. Be careful, and he should have a good fantasy. On this work, on my vessel did not end. In this room, it will stay about a week and will be dried at a certain temperature. After the dishes are loaded into the oven and will be burned at a temperature of 1000 degrees. And only after that, ceramics will become solid and sustaining. In the meantime, my dishes will be dried. And perhaps on my next visit to Turkestan, I will be able to see the final result of my work. Today I became quite familiar with such an ancient craft as pottery. I learned a lot of interesting things. I even tried to create something myself. From morning till evening, I spent in your workshop, disturbed you all day. No, of course. Thank you, that when you found out about me, I came to my workshop. After all, this craft belongs to our people. And now you will tell about the world of pottery. I'm always glad to people like you, Samat, who study their history and culture. Thank you. I want to wish you only success in preserving and developing this ancient craft. And may you have more students. After all, this art must remain after us to our descendants. Thank you, Master. I still have a lot to learn from you. I'll come again. Of course. Visit us again. They say that man was made of clay. I do not know. Although, why not? Perhaps the Creator, like a potter, twisted the universe like a potter's wheel and molded this world, and us too. And because of that, a man could have mastered this unique material, clay, almost at the very beginning of his historical path. And for thousands of years, the potter's wheel has been spinning, like our planet spins, how it circles around the sun. And for thousands of years, the hands of the master create a work of art from a formless mass. I also tried to create something today. Of course, it turned out not a masterpiece, but still, I am proud of myself. After all, who knows, maybe one day, after 1,000 years, the archaeologist will find my work and say that this pot was molded in the 21st century by some not very talented potter's apprentice.